Welcome back to Roland Garros, land of red clay, and today, land of career golden slams and what Novak Djokovic called his biggest sporting achievement. I am Christopher Clarey, longtime tennis correspondent for the New York Times. I'm now a full-time author, and I'm in my last day as co-host of the Olympic Tennis Daily before I stop procrastinating and get back to writing my book on Rafa Nadal.
Bonsoir Chris, bonsoir à tous. Je suis Romain Vinot, tennis journalist, your French accent, during the Olympics, and the fellow countryman of Félix Lebrun, who won the bronze medal today in table tennis. And Chris, just because it's played on the table doesn't mean it's not tennis, does it?
Romain, absolutely not. And just because it's Roland Garros does not mean they have to play tennis here. On Tuesday, this place turns into one big Olympic boxing ring. And they aren't having the bouts on the red clay, which is good. The footing would be tough. But they are having them in the Suzanne Lenglen court. It's weird, and it's not. Because Roland Garros actually hosted boxing matches in the 1930s, not long after it was built. And it's had quite a few since then. And then, of course, there are the parallels. People are always comparing tennis to boxing, calling it boxing without blood. And there was certainly a heavyweight feel to what happened at Roland Garros today with Novak Djokovic facing Carlos Alcaraz. It was shot for shot, punch for punch, and though it lasted only 2 sets, it was epic, lasting nearly 3 hours, and it ended with Djokovic completely overcome with emotion, sobbing on his hands and knees on the clay and trembling and thanking the Almighty and his team for helping him win the only big title he's missing at age 37, Olympic gold. 7-6, 7-6. Romain, take it from there.
Yeah, I write about this match, of course, and I started by talking about the match and then all the emotion that came with the result, because I thought the fight, the match was a real tennis highlight. We were wondering before the match whether it was going to be a one-side match or a big battle, and and we got the answer from the very first games. Uh, Both players quickly played at an excellent level, and it's quite maybe unusually, but they played at their best at the same time and during all the match. And despite the tension and the high stakes of this final, the two players gave it their all, from big shot along the line to smart drop shot, passing shot from out of nowhere, and clinical shots followed the marathon exchange, and just to defend the service games or to put the pressure at key moments. And Chris, there was no break for 2 hours and 52 minutes, which it's outstanding. You were sorry in the stands, Chris, for this match.
Yeah, it was back and forth, but I have to say, for me, it was great to see them rise up in this occasion and sort of show how much the Olympics can mean. They don't mean the same thing to everybody, clearly, but watching this match, you can have absolutely no doubt how much both of those guys wanted to win, and not just Djokovic, Alcaraz too. In his first Olympics, I think he's been, having lunch and dinner and practice sessions with Rafa Nadal, and you know how much the Olympics mean to Nadal, whom Djokovic beat here pretty handily early in the tournament, but played doubles with Carlos here. So I could tell how much our Alcaraz cared about the result and cared about the occasion, and ultimately that might have hurt him a little bit. I think he played a little bit tight at times, in the opening set in particular. And as you have referenced, I mean, it was incredibly tight, but the thing that was amazing to me is this is a clay court match at the end of a long tournament with two of the best returners in the game right now, and Djokovic, arguably or not arguably, the best returner in the history of the game, and nobody broke serve.
Yeah.
But the chances came in the first set, really. It was Djokovic was overall 0 for 6 in break points, and Alcaraz was 0 for 8. And he had all of those chances in the first set, and he had 5 of them in one game, 4-all. And I think, as I wrote, I think when he looks back on the match years from now, I don't think he's going to get another chance to play Novak at the Olympics. Although, from what Novak said in his press conference, talking about LA, I don't know, but I would be shocked But I've been shocked a lot, so who knows? Maybe I'll be shocked again. But I feel like that game when he had the 5 break points as well as Novak defended them, you can't tell me there wasn't a chance in there somewhere for Carlos to seal a deal. And he was just a little bit edgy, a little bit impatient, and I think ultimately that cost him the chance to break there. I'm not saying Novak wouldn't have broken him back if that had happened, but it was a remarkable performance. And ultimately, there was so little in it, wasn't there? It really was. And one thing else I noticed was Djokovic, his first serve percentage today was 74%. And it
Yeah.
kind of had to be. I mean, Alcaraz was way back deep. I thought a little bit too deep in the different postal code there at times. And he was missing a lot of second serve returns that he would normally make. But Novak really served very, very well, as he often has in big matches recently. And it was just a powerful, maybe the best 2-set match. Sampras and Agassi played a great one, but one of the best, might be the best 2-set match I've ever seen. But I do feel like Djokovic just rose to the occasion, didn't he, Romain?
Yeah, and Chris, maybe 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, Djokovic was injured, and he said during the press conference, like he knows before the match, he will play the best player of the moment, and yeah, he was amazing during this match, Djokovic, because um, you know. There are always tension with him, his team, and the public or the chair umpire. And during this match, it was really focused. And before this tournament, some people wonder how important it could be for the players because they play important tournament during the year. And I think today we've got the best answer because, like you said, Carlos was extremely disappointed. He cried a little because initially he felt that he had let down his country, his fans, and himself. Then after that, maybe 1 hour after the match, he realized that he had achieved something great by being the youngest player since 1988 to play an Olympic final. But did you see Djokovic's emotion on the court? He was crying, he was shaking, he was on his knees on the clay for a very long time. He was so proud to have the gold medal around his neck and the Serbian flag on his shoulders as as he stood on the podium, and he explained that during the press conference, his year, his injury, and yeah, this was probably the greatest achievement of his career. And Chris, there are a lot of achievement on the Djokovic career. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I can't say I was surprised, and maybe there's a little bit of recency bias as well, in the fact that Novak just experienced this, so he's going to put it at the top of the list. But he really was asked a couple of different ways in that press conference, and I'm
Yeah.
sure in the hour before in every broadcast interview that he did, what it meant to him. And I'll just read you what his words were. He said, quote, "It definitely stands out as the biggest sporting achievement I've had because of all the circumstances and all the things along the journey that I had to face." I
Yeah.
mean, you can't be clearer than that. I mean, it's just basically, this is a guy who's won 24 major singles titles and had to wait a long time, well over a decade, to finally win the French Open and get past Nadal. He's won 7 ATP finals, breaking Federer's record. He spent 428 weeks at number one. Just getting there was amazing. I would argue that the only emotions that I've seen him have on a court that were comparable to this were back in 2010 when he won the Davis Cup with Serbia. That was very early in his career, relatively speaking, and it was such a powerful emotion for him. This is a guy, don't forget, who actually thought about representing Great Britain at one point because of economic needs and for his family very early in his career. There actually was a serious debate about switching nationalities. And he cannot be more representative of the Serbian nation, and the patriotism that he feels is just so clear. So he has had many big moments in his career, but so for him to say what he said, for watching it, I mean, he was completely let himself go. I don't think he let himself go. He completely lost it, and in such a powerfully good way at the end of that match. And I got to say one other thing too is that I was in Rio in 2016 covering those Olympics, and I was in the mix zone when Djokovic lost in the first round to Juan Martín Del Potro.
Yeah.
And he came in as the top player in the world, and he already had a lot of Olympic baggage by then, having not had the gold yet, and it was something he really was chasing. This is 8 years ago. And he was completely devastated by that. He was in tears, uncontrollable in the mix zone, really just broke down. So I have to say, I had that image in my mind. I mean, to have that sort of reaction in defeat, and now to have that kind of reaction in victory, and to sort of see him with his children, sharing that with his daughter, hugging her and losing it the way he did. It was honestly, it was beautiful. And what an amazing champion. And I think in a way, yes, the majors and the Grand Slams bring a certain amount of closure. But for Djokovic, who really has moved into a category of one of the all-time greatest sports people in any sport, to have this happen at the Olympics where all the other athletes are. You've got Simone Biles, and you've got Katie Ledecky, and you've got all these other athletes that are out there, and Teddy Riner, judoka from France. I don't want to be too parochial. But when you have all these athletes gathered, and that's where he does it, extra meaning. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. And he just came to the press conference with the Serbian flag on his shoulders and talk about the importance of the event. Of course, Djokovic is one of the greatest athletes in the world, and yeah, all the images after the final when he was in the ground with family and with friend when his team. He talked about that, of course, with a little smile when Victor Troicki just came at the press conference and laughed because Djokovic already talked about the next one, the Los Angeles in 4 years. So yeah, I think, and at, at the end, it was nice to see him just resist to this pressure, because I remember at the US Open when he lost against Medvedev. Yeah, it was for a big achievement too, but today he resisted to the pressure and he succeeded, and yeah, it was really nice to see him with all the emotion, because no, Djokovic is not a robot, Chris. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I think also, Romain, to have seen him get so handily defeated by Alcaraz just a few weeks ago, Wimbledon
yeah,
final. And
yeah,
honestly, I mean, I plead guilty. I wrote passing up the torch and changing up the guard. Great place to do it in London. I used all the wordplay I could, and it seemed very appropriate. And then you see him go out there today with some more time under his belt, time to sort of get his body back where it needed to be. And 2 months ago, almost to the day, he had knee surgery here in
yeah,
Paris. It wasn't major knee surgery, but it was certainly knee surgery. And I'm not sure any knee surgery is not something to get concerned about. But he had a trim of his cartilage. Well, I'm telling you, what a trim, and what a way to take advantage of all the timeline that he had, and being able to maximize it and find a way to peak, because this was just. I honestly think this was the one tournament he wanted to win this year when he looked at the whole schedule. This was the one thing he cared about the most, and he managed to peak for it on the day. And he didn't lose a set. He is the first guy
yeah,
in the history of the Olympic, or the modern history of the Olympics, to win the singles title without dropping a set. That tells you something. So he has that. Plus, he has the career Golden Slam now, obviously winning the 4 majors each multiple times, but and then winning the Olympic gold now. He has that, and I think, I guess the last thing I'll say about it, and I'll let you finish on this, is, so where does he go from here? I mean, he wasn't joking about LA. I think he wasn't joking at all. I think he
no,
was sick. I think he would like to keep playing. And honestly, I think a couple of us walked in there today. I was talking with some friends and said, well, wouldn't it be just a incredibly fitting time for him to sort of say, I'm done. I've won everything. Thank you very much. I go out on top. But nope. I mean, maybe he's got a surprise up his short sleeve, but that was not the way he was talking tonight. So he sounds like he's ready to keep going. And he said, I'm not just doing it for winning things or completing the circle or going all the way through every tournament that I want to win and checking it off. I'm doing it because I enjoy the process, and I love the game, and I love the improvement that it brings every day and the goals that I'm able to set. And it sounds very similar to what Andy Murray was saying before he retired here. So that's why these players continue on, and
Yeah.
they keep going because they do care about, they do enjoy the process, not just the destination.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, you know he's here right now, and we will see him maybe for a long time. And yeah, you're right. I think he enjoyed, of course, winning titles and everything. But yeah, he enjoys the game, and it's maybe a good resume of this tournament because the players was here for their countries and because they love the game and they love tennis. So yeah, it was really nice and really nice moment on the press conference.
I agree. Well, there were 24 different players who won medals at this Olympics in tennis,
Yeah,
and none of them were the same people. Everybody won just one. So that's kind of interesting in itself. But Djokovic was not the only one to complete a career Golden Slam today. The other one was Sara Errani of Italy, who teamed up with Jasmine Paolini to beat Mira Andreeva and Anna Schneider, neutrals who play for Russia at times as well, but the neutrals here, and they came back to win 2-6, 6-1, and 10-7 in a match tiebreaker. And Erani now completes the career Golden Slam in doubles. And it was nice to see Erani and Paolini, who were in the final of the Roland Garros and lost a few weeks ago or 2 months ago or so, win this gold. And it's Italy's first ever Olympic gold in tennis.
yeah. And maybe it's the best revenge for to win the gold medal after just lose a final of a Grand Slam. And I saw Sara Errani after the semi-final, and she was really emotional because she said it's like everything for her to be here and to be in final. And after that, we just saw the emotion with Jasmine tonight. Yeah, it's a really big achievement for both. And really, when you just look at the draw, they played amazing during all the week. Yeah, super tiebreak today and super tiebreak against Garcia Paris, but during the whole week, they were just the best on court, and what an achievement for Paolini too, because of course she lost on the single draw, but she's here now. She just has a gold medal around her neck. So yeah, great emotion too after the men's final. It was nice to see Jasmine and Sara at that level.
Yeah, not an easy act to follow, following Djokovic-Alcaraz.
No.
But very nice for Jasmine Paolini to have reached those two major finals at French Open,
Yeah.
Wimbledon, and then to have actually win a title in a huge spot for Italian tennis and all that. So well deserved. And yeah, we also should note that in the earliest match of the day, Cristina Buccia and Sara Sorribes Tormo of Spain won the bronze medal. And it's kind of interesting because Buccia's like Iga Swiatek, her father was an Olympian, except that her dad
Yeah.
was a lot colder when he did it. He was a winter Olympian in biathlon. So that Olympic connection continues in this tennis world, and I bet you there'll be a lot more ahead with all these young players who are growing up in the tennis world around their parents. You see Djokovic's kids watching, and Nadal's young son getting into his DNA. Who knows what comes next?
Yeah.
But we need to wrap up this tournament, Romain. So let's have some fun a little before we say goodbye, and that is let's look at the whole tournament and sort of run down quickly what we thought about a few different categories. So I'm going to ask you. I'll ask you first. Who was your biggest surprise of the Olympics?
Well, I will say the Anna Karolina Schmidlova in the women's single because she ranked 67 in the world and only beaten one top 10 player in her career prior to these games and has enjoyed great victories really over Adam Maya, Paolini, Kreshikova. I don't think anyone had predicted that she would be in a semi-final and playing for bronze. Yeah, even so, she eventually lost to Iga in that match. But yeah, she's my biggest surprise. And you, Chris?
My biggest surprise is, I think, seeing 12,000 people in Philippe Chatrier Stadium for the mixed doubles final. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that was something for me, summed up this remarkable popular success of this tournament. And, mixed doubles is an afterthought most places. Doesn't get played in most tournaments and is an afterthought at the majors. And it's great to see Siniakova and Mahac get that sort of reception for their gold medal and all that. They'll never forget it. And it was nice to see the potential of what it actually has. And that was kind of the way it was for doubles all the way through, right?
yeah.
So what about your biggest letdown, Romain?
Chris, I'm French, so I'm going to say the French because they obviously weren't favorites in this game, but yeah, there weren't enough wins, and even though there were some great emotion with the fans, I would have liked them to have maybe won a medal in one of the five events at this Olympic game. Yeah, I hope it will be better for the French tennis the next event. Yeah, and
Let
you,
me say,
Chris?
let me just say too, I think it's great that the French fans, even though they didn't have a lot of success for their players, the atmosphere stayed great all the way through. I mean, obviously it's an international crowd watching the Olympics, but there was a lot of great support all the way through the tournament.
Yeah,
For me, the biggest letdown, I'm going to stay. You're talking about the French, and you're French. I'm American. I love Coco Gauff as a person. I think she's got so much personality. She's great for tennis. She's young, got a whole lot of time in front of her. But I have to say, for me, the fact that she came out of here without a medal, and really wasn't able to perform to her potential. She carried the flag in the opening ceremony. Was one of our real most visible athletes, and I'm sad for her. But I think that's a bit of a letdown on our side that she doesn't go deep in any of the three events she was playing in and didn't really get a shot at a medal in any three.
yeah, yeah.
All right, Romain, biggest upset.
I think we will be agree on this one. Of course, we will say Deng, Qinwen Zheng, sorry, beating Iga because yeah, Iga was of course the big favorite of this event. She was like invincible in Roland Garros the last 3 years. So it was yeah, of course it was nice for Deng, but a really big upset for Iga. I think you will have the same, Chris, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but
No, we are going to move right along. I couldn't agree more. No, it was, and I think also obviously set the stage for Zheng breaking through and winning the final the way she did, pretty handily against Donna Vekic, and really reaching a new level. So it's going to have some repercussions, that match,
yeah.
probably in a lot of ways. Strongest emotion that you felt. If you want to pass on this, I'm happy to just talk about what I felt, since it's all about me, Romain. It's all about me.
Yeah. Maybe I can pass because I think we just share the same at the same time in the stadium. So
Yeah, I was out in Long Glen. I was actually working with you on the show, and Andy Murray and Dan Evans were down in the opening round against Nishioka and Daniel of Japan, and the match tiebreaker. So I ran out there to the court to watch Andy Murray's last point of his career, and they were down 9-4 in the match tiebreaker, which means 1 point away. And I took a bunch of pictures on my phone, and none of them had any real relevance at the end because they saved 5 match points in a row, and the crowd was going nuts. Murray was crying, Evans was crying, they were hugging, they were kissing, they were doing everything. And I got to say, it was just fabulous in Andy Murray's last tournament to have that sort of a victory and come back and do it. And they did it kind of again in the next round before they lost to Fritz and Paul. But that was, for
yeah.
me, given the Murray's last tournament status, that was the strongest emotion that I felt the whole
Yeah.
tournament. Strangest moment, Romain.
Oh, I'm going to say Rafael Nadal, and because of course he lost to Djokovic in the singles, which is logical even if he put up a fight during the second set. But after losing the doubles, he left the court very quickly, and yeah, we don't know if we will see him again at Roland Garros, and it was really quick, like just a wave with his hand, and yeah, it was yeah, it was strange for me because I saw him a lot winning at Roland Garros, so I hope he will be here next year on the clay, the Port d'Auteuil.
Yeah, how you use the word strange or how you define it depends. But I mean, for me, the strangest thing I think was opening round of singles men's tournament because of all the withdrawals that happened late. Players that were double specialists with no singles rankings ended up getting into the main singles draw. Not an ideal look for the Olympics, much as I like outsiders and dark horses. So Matt Ebden ended up playing Djokovic, having no plans to continue his singles career, ended up playing a singles match where he was completely overwhelmed by Djokovic, who I think, gave him a game to be very gallant. And Ebden treated it a little bit like an exhibition and didn't seem too disappointed by the loss, and then went on to win the doubles title. So obviously it worked out pretty well for him. But that was very strange to see a match like that in an event as important as the Olympics. So what about your best match,
Oh,
Romain?
we talked about a lot
You know what we should
during
let's
this
let's split
one.
let's split it up. And you do why don't you do a men's match and I'll do a women's match, and then we'll move right along.
Of course, I will choose Djokovic-Alcaraz, of
Uh,
course, for all the reasons we talked about earlier.
And if I'm picking a women's match, maybe I'm just a nostalgic guy. Maybe that's just what I am. But I have to say, quarterfinal, Jen Qinwen against Angie Kerber. Angie
Yeah.
Kerber, like Andy Murray, playing her last tournament, in her mid-30s before she retires, and just gave it all out there over the rounds of the event, and pushed Zhang all the way. 4-1 up in the third set, didn't choke, just ran out of steam, and she went out with her sneakers full of clay and a lot of roars and fist pumps. So great to see that kind of a finish, and I think very inspiring. But Romain, I
Yep.
think we should move on to my favorite part of the show over the last 10 days, which has been you helping us with our French. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to you.
Yeah, Chris, today for our latest podcast, we were not talking about a purely tennis expression, but about a moment that has become a cult one for all French tennis fans, and which has since been reused at the end of the matches and tournament now. In 1991, during the Davis Cup final in Lyon, won by Guy Forget for France against Pete Sampras for the American Dream Team, the famous French journalist Jean-Paul Lotte shouted to his colleague Michel Drey, "C'est fini, Michel," which literally means "It's over, Michel." So I have to tell you this about the tennis at the Olympics and our podcast, Chris. C'est fini, Chris. And of course, before the end, I just would like to thank you for this wonderful experience. I'm sorry for my accent, but I want to thank you as well as all the ITF team who support us over the 10 days. So to Lucas, Jamie, Ed, Joe, Monica, Tom, Nick, Heather, and all the other I don't unfortunately have time to mention, but who do a fantastic job for the ITF. Thank you very much for your trust, your humor, your French humor, and your professionalism. It was really nice to share these games with you all.
Romain, well, thanks for saying it so well, and for saying it so well in your second language, as you have over the last 11 days. Chapeau, as you guys say, or tip of the hat, as we guys say. It was a pleasure to be part of this French-American team at Roland Garros and to bring the highs and lows to you, our listeners. Hope we'll see you again. And if not, we'll see you with Novak Djokovic in LA in 4 years' time. Good night,
Merci
everybody. Bye
et à
bye.
bientôt. À bientôt.